And the name of Stefanie's presentation is Competencies, Capabilities, and Strategic Skills, an Introduction to 21st Century Public Health Foundations. So take it away, Stefanie.
Great. Thanks so much, Lee. Hi, everyone. Like Lee said, my name is Stefanie Tassaro. I'm currently an MPH candidate with the University of Montana, and you can see the title here of my practicum project. And so I'm in my second to last semester of the MPH program, but I've been working in public health in Montana for about the last 8 years. So I've started at a local health department and then at the state health department. And currently I work for the Montana Public Health Institute, which is a nonprofit organization. All right, so just a quick outline of what my presentation is going to look like today. So I'll share a little bit of background information, a little bit about the competencies that I selected, and then kind of the main feature, the activities and products that I completed as part of this project. So before I go into the products, just to give some background information on how I came to this topic for my presentation or for this project. So a few months ago, the Montana Public Health Training Center had reached out to actually the Montana Public Health Institute looking for someone to do a training on public health foundations. And so that was something that was identified through the last statewide workforce development assessment. And so that just kind of based on my past work experience sounded like a topic of interest to me. And so I reached out to Lee to see if this was something that I could do as part of my APE project, and was excited to get the go ahead on that. So some of you may be familiar with the Montana Public Health 101 training series. That is a self-paced online learning module available on the Public Health Training Center's website. It's a really great resource for new public health professionals. It doesn't quite go into detail on some of these foundational frameworks and foundations that public health systems are built on and how like local and tribal health departments operate with those frameworks. So really the intention behind this training series was to help make sense of what those foundational elements are to public health in a way that resonates with new public health professionals. And so like Lee mentioned, my site mentor for this project was Sarah Davis with the Rocky Mountain Public Health Training Center. Sarah was super helpful throughout the project and really helped me kind of think through how do you design and deliver a public health training series in an effective way. And so this screenshot on the lower right is just a quick kind of overview of what my training session looked like. And I'll go into more detail on that in a couple slides. So the competencies that I selected, I had 3 foundational competencies and 2 concentration specific. So those 3 foundational competencies include applying principles of leadership, governance, and management, communicating audience appropriate public health content, and then also applying systems thinking tools to a public health issue. And then those concentration specific competencies on the other side there. So identifying a common demographic characteristics for rural and frontier, and then demonstrate basic understanding and respect for a multiplicity of values, beliefs, traditions, and experiences. All right. So now to go into the activities and products. So in order to meet those competencies that I just described, I selected 3 activities. And so first was to complete a training outline and PowerPoint presentation for a webinar series. And so that was a 3-part series happening in March. And so the first one was on March 8th. The second one was 2 weeks later on the 22nd. And then there was a coaching and Q&A session on March 29th. Second was to create a summary resource, basically a series of 1-pagers detailing the key elements from that first webinar. And so this was something that was made available to the training attendees. And then I also brought hard copies with me to the Confluence 2023 conference that took place in Billings a couple weeks ago. The last product that I selected was to provide a scripted version of that initial webinar to my host site, so the Rocky Mountain Public Health Training Center. And the purpose of that is really so it could be turned into a self-paced learning module down the road, and that could then accompany that Montana Public Health 101 training series that's already out there. So the next couple of slides, I'll just go into some details on what that training series looks like. And so, like I said, part 1, which took place on March 8th, really kind of set the groundwork and went into details on the 10 essential public health services, foundational public health services, core competencies for public health professionals, and then the De Beaumont Foundation's public health strategic skills. I also talked a little bit about Public Health 3.0, and that was just kind of in the mindset of laying the groundwork for the second session that took place 2 weeks later. So that second session, again, on March 22nd, did a quick recap of the first training session. There were some questions that came up, and so just wanted to revisit that content and address those questions. But then really the focus was a deeper dive into Public Health 3.0 and what those recommended activities for achieving Public Health 3.0, what those are. And so thinking about the role of the Chief Health Strategist, talking a little bit about public health accreditation, workforce development, and then also data modernization and public health infrastructure. And so in addition to kind of a definition of what those things are, also talking about how those things are happening in Montana and in local and tribal health departments. And then finally, the third session was really just an informal kind of opportunity for questions and coaching. I think that's something new that the training center is doing, and I thought it was great. I was kind of pleasantly surprised at how many people showed up to that session to ask questions and just kind of have conversation about the content that was presented in the first 2 webinars. And so I think there were about 10 or so individuals that came on for that coaching session. And then the first webinar had about 25 participants, I think, and then maybe like 17 or 18 for the second one. There's some evaluation data that I'm still in the process of kind of analyzing and looking over for some next steps there. So I just wanted to share a couple of screenshots from that training series. And so for those of you that are familiar with Mentimeter, it's just kind of an interactive polling platform that you can use in PowerPoint. And so this was nice to just have some interactive elements throughout those webinars. This first one up here, what comes to mind when you think of public health foundations? I don't know, there's just some really great kind of like phrases and words there. And so wanted to include that one. And then the last screenshot I wanted to share is really kind of the one-page overview of the first training series. And so want to give a shout out to Sarah Davis for making that connection and directing me to this resource from the De Beaumont Foundation. So just kind of quickly, because this will give you kind of an overview of what that first session looked like. Kind of recognizing that, Healthy People 2030, which are the goals and objectives set forth by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Those are kind of the overarching thing that public health professionals are striving to achieve. And so in order to achieve those goals, we do the services and activities and programs that are described in the 10 essential public health services. And then really for governmental public health, those activities and services are detailed in what's called the foundational public health services. So then finally, to do those things, to do those services and programs, we need a skilled and competent public health workforce. And the strategic skills and core competencies for public health professionals kind of provide that knowledge and skill set and abilities for public health professionals. And those things are something that can be used to help identify gaps and then also address those gaps and competencies. So then just a couple screenshots from the Mentimeter results pre and post training. So this first one is from the first training series. And so I did, I asked how familiar you are with the 10 essentials, foundational public health services, core competencies, and public health 3.0 / the strategic skills. And so you can see post-training, there's kind of a nice little increase in knowledge there. And then for the second session, very similar question, but this one's now focusing on public health accreditation, workforce development, chief health strategist, and data modernization. And so kind of a similar, not quite as drastic as the first training, but certainly an increase in knowledge, which makes me feel like I did something right. So so then the second product that I developed as part of this project was a summary resource. And so this is a series of 5 one-page documents, just kind of detailing the key elements from that training session. And so there's one for the 10 essentials, the foundational public health services, core competencies, strategic skills, and public health 3.0. And that public health 3.0 one actually covers quite a bit of the content from the second webinar. And so these again were something that these were emailed to training participants and then also shared with attendees at the Confluence 2023 conference in Billings a couple weeks ago. All right, the final product was a scripted version of part 1 of the training series. And so I modified that PowerPoint that I presented and added scripting so that this could be turned into a self-paced learning module. And so this is with Rocky Mountain Public Health Training Center, and just waiting to hear what's next on that. And again, this is something that could be added on to the Montana Public Health 101 training series that's already available. Okay, so just to summarize, again, these are the 3 activities that I completed as part of this project. And so again, it was a 2-part training series in March. Created those summary resource documents to share with training participants, as well as folks at the Confluence 2023 conference. And then finally providing that scripted version for this to be turned into a self-paced learning module. And we're doing questions at the end, but thanks so much for listening. And thanks, Lee, for your guidance on this, and to Sarah and the Rocky Mountain Public Health Training Center for being my site mentor and yeah, for this project. All right.
Awesome, Stephanie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.